Part 19. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Dit. Chapter 181. Johnson cursed and swore, Emperor Poseidon, I really didn't hide the body. Otherwise, all my family members will die. In order to gain the trust of Emperor Poseidon and others, Johnson also fought hard. But even so, Johnson still didn't believe it. The body and treasures were obviously collected by Johnson, how could they disappear for no reason? Fellow deist John, I'll give you 10 breaths to think about it. If you don't take out the things, I will definitely pass the news to Emperor Yet. Emperor Poseidon said coldly. Johnson was so angry that he wanted to curse. If he hid it, it would be fine, but the problem is that he really didn't hide it. He himself couldn't figure it out. Not long ago, he saw that the body was in there and the things were there. 10 breaths of time passed quickly. Of course, Johnson couldn't take out the body. Emperor Poseidon sent a message with a cold face, and the message was passed to Yechen. In Fengming Palace, Yechen raised his eyebrows. The other party killed the old man in green robe and gave the body to Emperor Poseidon and his men. He was a little worried. Will the other party become suspicious when they see the body and things disappearing out of thin air? This is to let the outside world know that the Tianyan dynasty is not that strong. So that other countries can target our Tianyan dynasty. Yechen was thoughtful. Why did the other party do this? Emperor Poseidon, did the senior die? Was it your Bamo dynasty who killed him? You should return home as soon as possible. Talk to Emperor Bamo and strengthen the relationship between our two countries. Yechen sent a voice message. Emperor Poseidon's face changed slightly after receiving Yechen's voice message. Of course, the person was not killed by their Bamo dynasty, he was very sure of this. Excluding them, the most likely person should be the strong man of the United States dynasty. The other party is a semi-saint. Or the United States dynasty used a powerful treasure of the semi-saint or even saint level. Even if it's the latter, the United States dynasty will definitely have a powerful emperor-level strongman coming. No good result if we continue to argue. Poseidon thought to himself, he stopped arguing with Johnson and the others and left quickly. Johnson and the others also left. After they left, Johnson and the others quarreled among themselves. The others asked Johnson to take out the body, but Johnson couldn't take it out at all. They quarreled and fought. After a lot of time, Xuanhuan finally arrived at Fengming Palace in the evening. Today is really a thrilling day. Huanjian, how much do you know about the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion? Yechen asked while eating dinner with Xuanhuan. Yechen set up a barrier around. To prevent eavesdropping. Xuanhuan frowned and said, Juxiao Pavilion is very mysterious. Ordinary people in Juxiao Pavilion can still find some traces, but the master of Juxiao Pavilion cannot. No one knows who the master of Juxiao Pavilion is. We in Tianyan dynasty know nothing about his strength and his appearance. Yechen was silent for a while and said, do you know about the demon sealing order? Xuanhuan nodded gently. I know something about this. There is no record of this in the books. It is recorded in the Emperor's seal. Only those who have obtained the throne and control the Emperor's seal can know the information inside. Yechen's eyes showed surprise. The Emperor's seal actually has this function. There are 9 demon sealing orders in total. According to the records in the Emperor's seal, it was refined by many top powerhouses of the human race in ancient times. Each of them is a treasure of the saint venerable level. It is rumored that the 9 demon sealing orders contain the power of the human race's destiny and are indestructible. Xuanhuan explained that these things are top secret, but she will definitely tell her if Yechen asks. Yechen's heart moved. Is the destiny of the human race sealed inside? Xuanhuan nodded gently, it is rumored that this is the case, but it is not clear whether it is true or not. Our royal family did have the demon sealing order 10,000 years ago, but it was lost later. Various information flashed through Ye Chen's mind quickly. The Lord of Juxiao Pavilion has such strong power, it would be easy for him to destroy the Tianyang dynasty. But he did not do it, but just secretly provoked conflicts. Oh, right, there is also the Juxiao beauty list. Ye Chen thought of this. It turns out that Ye Chen actually doesn't think there is anything wrong with the Juxiao beauty list. Juxiao Pavilion makes money from it. It also gained a lot of reputation. But now Ye Chen feels something is wrong. The Lord of Juxiao Pavilion is at least in the late stage of the semi-saint. How much money does he lack? With the strength of the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion, entering the treasure house of the four dynasties is no different from entering his own home. Hanjian is the first on the Juxiao beauty list. The Lord of Juxiao Pavilion has no intention of targeting Hanjian at all. The other beauties on the Juxiao beauty list should be the same. Ye Chen's eyes flashed with brilliance. He had a feeling that the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion was not human. If the other party was a demon, his aesthetics might be completely different from that of humans. Because of the existence of the Juxiao beauty list, there have been many wars over the long years. Ye Chen muttered in his heart. He vaguely felt that the existence of the Juxiao beauty list was to cause more wars to break out among humans. Millions of people died in the rebellion, and the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion happened to be here. It just so happened that the demon sealing order was broken at this time. Ye Chen frowned secretly. What a coincidence. Magic can defeat magic. If there is human luck in the demon sealing order, the other party may have found a way to destroy the demon sealing order. It is possible that they use the dead air and resentment generated by human death. Ye Chen, what are you thinking about? Luo Hanjian asked. Ye Chen thought about it and had to explain this matter to Luo Hanjian. Hanjian, the emperor I summoned is dead. Luo Hanjian asked in confusion, didn't you say before that the summoning lasts only 1 hour? It's normal that it disappeared at this point. Ye Chen shook his head, it's not disappearance, it's death. He was killed by the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion. And it was killed instantly. Luo Hanjian stared at Ye Chen in a daze, her beautiful eyes full of disbelief. Ye Chen, are you serious? Ye Chen nodded seriously, he slashed the other party with a knife, and his skin was not broken. The other party killed him with one finger. Then the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion gave the body to Emperor Poseidon and others. Ye Chen also talked about the matter of Emperor Poseidon contacting him. Luo Hanjian had already learned about the unusual movement of the demon suppression tower from Luo Wanli. Combining some of the information Ye Chen just said, she analyzed a lot of things. Ye Chen, the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion is a demon. The other party is trying to destroy the demon sealing order. Luo Hanjian said seriously. Ye Chen nodded gently, if he is a human, Hanjian, you look like this, and he has enough strength, I don't believe he won't be tempted. Luo Hanjian rolled her eyes at Ye Chen. Ye Chen, let's talk about serious things. Ye Chen laughed and said, Hanjian, how can I not be serious when I say this? Luo Hanjian pondered, she was somewhat confident in her appearance. The possibility that the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion is a demon is very high. Ye Chen, according to what you said, the other party's strength should be stronger than yours, then aren't you in danger now? Luo Hanjian said worriedly. Ye Chen pointed to the big willow tree next to him, Hanjian, remember I told you before that if there is any danger, you should come to Fengming Palace. Xiao Lu has the strength of Saint Venerable within 100 meters. 100 to 500 meters, the strength of semi-saint. As long as we are in this yard, we will basically be safe. Luo Hanjian looked at the big willow tree next to her in horror. It actually has the strength of Saint Venerable. Hanjian, you can be absolutely assured of Xiao Lu. Luo Hanjian breathed a sigh of relief. This is much safer. Hanjian, Don't worry too much, our analysis just now is just some of our guesses. Ye Chen chuckled. Luo Hongjian nodded gently. The current situation is like this, worrying is useless. Ye Chen, the ritual of the emperor will start in the evening, I need to guard over there. Don't go over there. Luo Hongjian stood up after eating. Ye Chen nodded. Queen Dowager Du, concubine Shu, and many other people will be there, he will be embarrassed if he goes. After all, he killed the emperor. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 182. Bamo Dynasty. There shouldn't be any more news coming. Bamo Emperor thought to himself. I received a lot of urgent news this day. First, the news broke out from Tianyang Imperial City that Ye Chen, the Emperor and Queen, was a demon. Soon, I received news that many forces such as the Sidu family united to rebel. Before I digested this news, the third urgent news came again. The Emperor of Tianyang Dynasty forced the Emperor to abdicate, but the Emperor was killed, and Ye Chen showed his strong strength. This is not over yet. The rebels gathered near Tianyang Imperial City were easily killed by the powerful Emperor of the 9th level. Siduda and others were captured alive, and Prince Mu also died. Report. Someone outside the hall shouted, and then immediately entered the room where Bamo Emperor was. What's the matter? Bamo Emperor frowned secretly. What other important news can there be? The appearance of a powerful emperor of the 9th level should temporarily make the entire Juxiao continent much quieter. Your Majesty, the Emperor Poseidon sent back news that the Blue Sword Emperor of the Tianyang dynasty died, and he was killed instantly. The Emperor Poseidon looked at the body and confirmed it. He suspected that it was done by a strong man from the Tianyang dynasty. The visitor reported in shock. He had come in to report several times today, and he had been shocked before, but this news shocked him the most. A strong man at the 9th level of the Great Emperor was killed instantly. The Blue Sword Emperor was killed instantly. The Emperor of Bamo took a deep breath. This was too terrifying. He didn't think it was done by a strong man at the semi-saint level. He estimated that a figure at the Emperor level brought a powerful semi-saint weapon or a saint weapon to the Tianyang dynasty to kill people. Of course it's impossible for the Bamo dynasty. It's impossible for the Tianyang dynasty. In the eyes of the Emperor of Bamo, it can only be the United States dynasty or the Gods dynasty. The United States dynasty is ambitious and the possibility is much greater. The Gods dynasty is loose internally. Even if someone has a powerful semi-sacred weapon or a sacred weapon, they will not use it easily. Send it to the prince. The Emperor of Bamo said in a deep voice. He must send an envoy to strengthen the relationship with the Tianyang dynasty. The words Ye Chen wrote to him before appeared in his mind. The lips and teeth are cold. If the United States dynasty really defeats the Tianyang dynasty, their Bamo dynasty will also be in danger. The monarch of the Gods dynasty and the Emperor of the United States dynasty also received news from the Tianyang dynasty. It was still night there. They didn't sleep well all night. Various news bombarded them all night, and they felt confused. The monarch of the Gods dynasty should be better. He didn't know the news of the death of the Blue Sword Emperor yet. Come on, let the prince and the third prince come over. The Emperor of the United States dynasty said in a deep voice. This matter must be investigated clearly. The prince and the third prince went over together, and the emperor-level strongman just went over to protect them. The dynasty of the gods also sent out an envoy, but there was no prince in the envoy. The most powerful accompanying warrior was only at the 7th level of the divine emperor. In the eyes of the monarchs of the dynasty of the gods, the Tianyang dynasty had a warrior at the 9th level of the great emperor, and it was useless for them to send a great emperor-level warrior. In the event of a conflict, they might be killed. In a blink of an eye, it was the next day. Ye Chen lay leisurely in Fengming Palace. En Langxiu and Lu Qianqian were not around, so they were not so pleasing to the eye, but Xuanhuan and the others were not bad either. Empress, His Majesty sent someone to pass on the news that the Bamo dynasty sent an envoy. The prince of the Bamo dynasty came, and a great emperor came from the Bamo dynasty. The envoy headed by the prince of the United States dynasty has also entered the territory of our Tianyang dynasty. Pei Wei came to Ye Chen and said respectfully. Ye Chen made him the second chief steward of the eunuchs in Fengming Palace. As expected of someone who had once served as the Holy Lord of Taixuan Holy Land, Pei Wei was very good at this and managed it in an orderly manner, much better than Eunuch Lu in this aspect. Did His Majesty say anything else? Ye Chen said in a calm voice. Replying to the Queen, this is not the case. Ye Chen closed his eyes, just know that there is such a thing, don't disturb my sleep. The prince of the Bamo dynasty came, and the emperor came. Ye Chen knew what they were thinking. Even if they came to form an alliance, they must investigate first. But they couldn't find out anything. The Blue Sword Emperor was killed by the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion, which they couldn't find out at all. He had the strength of a semi-saint level, which they were unlikely to find out. Unknowingly, 7 days passed. The emperor was buried in the imperial mausoleum. The morning court was finally restored. The envoys of the United States dynasty, the Gods dynasty, and the Bamo dynasty all attended the morning court. Some other countries also had envoys attending. On the throne, Luo Hongjian was wearing a white imperial robe, which was magnificent. Dai Luo Yi, the third prince of the United States dynasty, had a burning gaze. He had been there when Luo Hongjian got married, and he was attracted to Luo Hongjian at that time. Now he found that Luo Hongjian seemed even more attractive. What a perfect woman! She must belong to me. Dai Luo Yi's eyes flashed. Currently he was only the third prince, and he had no hope, but he believed that he could become the prince. Ascend the throne in the future. Ministers, foreign envoys, if you have something to say, please report it, otherwise you can leave the court. Luo Hongjian said lightly. She was very busy these days and she didn't go to Fengming Palace. She just wanted to go to the court to see Ye Chen. Your Majesty. Prime Minister Wei Yutang stood up first. With such a big incident happening before, he had not attended court for 7 days, and there were many things piled up. It was almost noon, and Wei Yutang and his ministers finally stopped talking. Your Majesty Hongjian, some strong men from our 1,000 islands came to the Tianyang dynasty to play and died here. I hope Your Majesty Hongjian will give us an explanation for our 1,000 islands. Your Majesty Hongjian, some strong men from our Ota Empire also died here. Your Majesty Hongjian, your Tianyang dynasty, must also give us an explanation. Your Majesty Hongjian. The envoys from the 1,000 islands, Ota Empire, Xiannu Empire, and Southern Zhao all stood up and attacked together. They got the news from the United States dynasty that the Blue Sword Emperor had died. If the Blue Sword Emperor was still alive, their people would be dead, and they would never dare to make trouble. Now they dare. The death of the Blue Sword Emperor, in their opinion, must have been killed by the strong men of other countries, most likely the United States dynasty. Would the Tianyang dynasty have to keep its tail between its legs? Even if the United States dynasty does not stand up, the 4 countries united are enough to put pressure on the Tianyang dynasty. Luo Hongjian said indifferently, whoever killed your people, go find him. The prince of the 1,000 islands, Fujita Palace, came over. He said in a somewhat yin-yang tone, Your Majesty, the Blue Sword Emperor is from your Tianyang dynasty. Since he is dead, we naturally have to find you, Your Majesty. The second prince from the Ota Empire came, and he sneered, Your Majesty, your Tianyang dynasty just had a rebellion. Although the rebellion has been quelled, many people have died. At this time, it is better for you to give us enough compensation. The envoys of the Xiannu Empire and the Southern Zhao Kingdom also put pressure. Luo Hongjian frowned. The third prince of the United States dynasty, Dai Luoyi, also stood up at this time. Your Majesty, I heard that Empress Yechen is extremely powerful. Our United States dynasty's Xuanhuan sect leader, Emperor Constantine, seems to have died at his hands. Please notify him to come over for a confrontation. Delovi actually thought that Emperor Constantine must have been killed by the Blue Sword Emperor, but the Blue Sword Emperor is already dead, so it's meaningless for him to take the blame. It's just right to put the blame on Yechen. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Dit. Chapter 183. Luo Hongjian's sharp eyes instantly fell on Dalloway. Dalloway's face changed slightly. The pressure brought by Luo Hongjian on him was extremely strong. Luo Hongjian is the emperor and controls the world, and Luo Hongjian is a powerful person at the level of a god emperor. Third prince, wantonly slandering me, the emperor of the Tianyang dynasty, is a serious crime. Please think carefully before you speak. Luo Hongjian said with a cold expression. The prince of the Malian dynasty stood up. Your Majesty, my third brother only raised reasonable doubts, not to say it was slander. Our Midland dynasty has lost an emperor-level powerhouse. Please understand our feelings, Your Majesty the Beauty. Some strong men from the Gods dynasty also stood up. Your Majesty Hongjian, many strong men from our Gods dynasty died some time ago. I suspect that it was your Tianyang dynasty who did it. The primary suspect is also Empress Yechen. Your Majesty Hongjian, you really need to ask Empress Yechen to come out, talk to us, and resolve the conflict. Fujita Miyaichi and the others were excited, and the American League dynasty and the Gods dynasty actually put pressure on them. They are more certain. The Tianyang dynasty has just experienced civil strife, and there are strong people outside who have killed the Xingyi Sword Emperor. Now is a good time to tear off pieces of flesh from the Tianyang dynasty. Situda agreed to their promise, and they wanted to force Luo Hongjian to agree. Tianyang dynasty must cede a large area of territory. There must be compensation and so on. If you want to talk, talk to me. The emperor and empress are practicing now and have no time to talk to you. Luo Hongjian said in a deep voice. In her opinion, it is safest for Yechen to stay in Fengming Palace and avoid the limelight first. The prince of the Malian dynasty frowned and said, Your Majesty, your attitude is not a collegial attitude, and it may cause huge cracks in the relationship between our two countries. And our dynasty of gods. The envoys of the Gods dynasty also said. Envoys from the Thousand Island Kingdom, the Ota Empire and other countries also exerted pressure. Wei Yutang and others opened their mouths to help Luo Hongjian, but Fujita Miyaichi and others became more and more powerful. With the 6 countries jointly exerting pressure, it would be difficult for the Tianyang dynasty to simply resist. Even if they don't use military means, economic sanctions will have a huge impact on the Tianyang dynasty. Come, please come over, the emperor and empress. Luo Hongjian took a deep breath and said. If Yechen doesn't show up, these guys won't give up today. She wanted to see what they wanted to do. Not long after, a eunuch beside Luo Hongjian arrived at Fengming Palace. Yechen's phoenix chariot set off soon. The phoenix chariot arrived behind Tianji Hall, and Yechen entered Tianji Hall from the back door. Luo Hongjian had already added a chair for Yechen next to her throne. His Majesty. Yechen smiled at Luo Hongjian. Empress, sit down. The Prince of the United Dynasty must meet you, so I can only ask you to come over. Luo Hongjian said, secretly telling her about the previous situation. Yechen sat down and glanced at the hundreds or even thousands of people in the hall below. Many envoys came, and Tianji Hall was a little crowded today. Meet the Emperor and Empress. Wei Yutang and a large number of ministers from the Tianyang dynasty said in unison. The envoys from other countries did not speak. Some of them handed over casually. Some just nodded. Like the crown prince of the American League dynasty, etc., they didn't even nod their heads. Everyone, you want to see me? Now that I am here, what do you want to know? Ye Chen said softly. A treasure appeared in the hand of the prince of the United Dynasty. In an instant, the treasure grew larger and became 1 or 2 meters high. A powerful aura emanated from the treasure. Wow! Many black dragon guards entered Tianji Hall, with their weapons drawn out. Prince Milian said quietly, "Don't panic, everyone, although this is a top imperial weapon, it is not an attacking imperial weapon and can only be used to verify demons. Empress Ye, there are rumors in the Tianyang dynasty that you are a demon. Although it was later verified by your ancestors of the Tianyang dynasty royal family, there are still many people who are suspicious." Fujita Mayaishi's eyes lit up. Many of them spoke one after another and also expressed doubts about Ye Chen. Prince Milian continued, "Empress Ye, using this treasure is not cheap, but for the safety of our entire human race, we, the Milian dynasty, are still willing to use it. Now I need a drop of your blood, Empress. If this treasure emits green light later, it means you are a human being. If it emits red light, it means you are a monster." Ye Chen's eyes sparkled. There is most likely something wrong with this treasure. Regardless of whether he is a human or a demon, he is likely to be identified as a demon. Empress Ye, this is the 9th level treasure of the Great Emperor. It is more accurate than what your royal ancestors verified. And everyone can clearly see the result. Luo Hongjian said coldly, "Ye Chen is the empress of our Tianyang dynasty. There is no need to cooperate with you in such a verification. We won't have any problems with our own verification." The prince of the Milian dynasty said in a deep voice, "Your Majesty, Ye Chen is the empress of the Tianyang dynasty. If he is a demon, it will be a disaster for the entire Juxiao continent." Envoys from other countries spoke one after another. Dalloway sneered in his heart. Of course he knew the specific situation. He, the eldest brother of the prince, wanted to kill Ye Chen, and the treasure would definitely glow red later. As long as it is identified that Ye Chen is a demon, they will definitely force the Tianyang dynasty to kill Ye Chen. Luo Hongjian wanted to refute again, but Ye Chen was the first to say, "Prince Milian, you have already said this. It seems that I must test it to prove your innocence. Prince Milian, you won't deliberately frame me, right?" Luo Hongjian urgently sent a message, "Ye Chen, he will definitely frame you." Prince Milian said in a deep voice, "Empress Ye, of course I will not deliberately frame you. I just stand from the perspective of all mankind and don't want monsters to steal high positions. What if you framed me?" Ye Chen said calmly. Prince Milian frowned secretly, "Empress Ye, if I frame you, I will pay with my life. Is this enough?" Ye Chen smiled and said, "That's not the case. If you frame me, it means that you may not be suitable to continue to be the crown prince of the Midland dynasty. How about you give up the position of crown prince to the others after you go back? By the way, if this happens, this treasure will belong to me." The Prince of Milian frowned secretly. What was Ye Chen's idea? "Okay. My prince promises you." The Prince of Midland said solemnly. "This treasure is the 9th level treasure of the Great Emperor. If Ye Chen is identified as a demon, what can Ye Chen use to refute it?" Ye Chen nodded slightly, he cut his finger, and in full view of everyone, bright red blood flowed out, and a few drops of blood fell on the treasure in front of the Milian prince. Buzz. The treasure sucked the blood in and then emitted a powerful aura. It seems to be analyzing that bit of blood. Half a minute passed, and this treasure suddenly burst out with a dazzling red light. "Demon! Empress Ye is a demon!" Many of the envoys exclaimed. Some ministers from the Tianyang dynasty in the main hall also had doubts in their eyes. Luo Hongjian sneered in her heart, she instantly judged that the Midland Prince was cheating. It's just a treasure of the 9th level of the Great Emperor, so easy to identify a strong man in the middle stage of semi-saint as a demon? Luo Hongjian also figured out the purpose of Milian Prince and others. Just want to stink and kill Ye Chen. Although the Xingyi Sword Emperor is dead, Ye Chen has the strength of the 4th level of the Great Emperor at a young age. Maybe it won't take long for Ye Chen to reach the 9th level of the Great Emperor. Ye Chen must die. Your Majesty Hongjian, Empress Ye is a demon, and the Tianyang dynasty must give us an explanation. The Midland Prince snapped. Crack. Crack. Ye Chen clapped his hands gently. Prince Milian, what a move to reverse right and wrong. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 184. The Prince of the United States laughed loudly. Empress Ye, this prince has hit you in the sore spot, right? This is a treasure of the 9th level of the Great Emperor. You are definitely a demon. The Great Emperor level strongmen came from the United States dynasty, and several strong men at the level of the Divine Emperor also came. They all stared at Ye Chen. Many strong men from other countries also stared at Ye Chen. They are ready to attack at any time. Luo Hongjian said coldly, the strong men of the Tianyang dynasty listen to my order. Anyone who dares to attack the Empress will be killed without mercy. Dare to attack in the Tianji Palace, and attack the Empress, do you think she is dead? Yes, Your Majesty. A large number of strong men from the Tianyang dynasty said in unison. A strong momentum burst out from them. A large number of Black Dragon guards were urgently mobilized here. The faces of the Prince of the United States and others changed. If the Tianyang dynasty attacked them regardless of everything, all of them would die in this Tianyang Imperial Palace. They were so aggressive because they thought Luo Hongjian didn't dare to risk her life to fight against several countries. But if Luo Hongjian really risked her life, several countries would suffer heavy losses. Ye Chen looked at Luo Hongjian and smiled. He knew what Luo Hongjian meant. Luo Hongjian wanted to bear the pressure by herself, so he didn't have to take action and expose his strength. Everyone, don't be so nervous. Prince of the United States, since I just cooperated with you, I have a truth pill here. Do you dare to eat it? Ye Chen said in a calm voice, and a small jade bottle appeared in his hand. The jade bottle was translucent. You can see that there is a pill inside. The pill did not emit a strong aura, and it seemed to be a very ordinary thing. Prince of the United States, take this truth pill and you will speak the truth. If you just lied, you bow your head and admit your mistake now, and I can let it go. Ye Chen smiled. Ha ha ha. The Prince of the United States laughed. Empress Ye, do you think this prince is so easily scared? What is the mantra pill? He has never heard of it. Besides, he just checked the pill that Ye Chen took out with his spiritual sense, and it was ordinary. Even if it is indeed the mantra pill, the Prince of the United States thinks it will definitely not work. Then please. You can rest assured, you are the Prince of the United States dynasty, I can't poison you with a poison pill. Ye Chen said lightly. Humph. The Prince of the United States snorted coldly. He stretched out his hand, and a force immediately sucked the jade bottle in Ye Chen's hand into his own hand. Gurgle. The pill was eaten by the Prince of the United States. Ye Chen laughed. This pill is indeed the mantra pill. In the God's dynasty, Ye Chen signed in 3 times in total, and he received 3 rewards. The first is the SS level enhancement card, the second is the Holy Demon Soul Sutra for Enlangsu. The third is this mantra pill. It is only an A-level reward, but eating it is enough to make ordinary emperor-level strongmen speak the truth. The status of the United States Prince is high, he must have undergone relevant training, but he can't be better than the emperor-level people in this aspect. System, what's going on? Ye Chen asked secretly. It has taken effect. The system simply responded to Ye Chen. The United States prince sneered, Empress Ye, this prince has already eaten the pill, what do you want to ask, hurry up. Ye Chen smiled and said, did you tamper with this treasure of the United States prince? Do you want to kill the others who want to compete with you for the crown prince? For example, the third prince. Ye Chen threw out two questions. Everyone looked at the United States prince, and few people thought that the United States prince would speak the truth. Prince Milian said without hesitation, of course the treasure has been tampered with. No matter whether you are a human or a demon, it will burst out with red light. This prince definitely wants to kill them, especially the third prince Dai Luoyi. There was an uproar in the Tianji palace. Prince Milian's face changed wildly, and he shouted in panic, fake, this is fake. It must be Ye Chen's trick. He is strong and must have hypnotized me. Ye Chen said in a calm voice, there are many strong people present. Everyone knows whether I have used any means. Prince Milian, if you become the emperor in the future and have the opportunity to annex the dynasty of the gods and gain a lot of benefits, will you attack the dynasty of the gods? Prince Milian blurted out, yes. After taking the mantra pill, he was unable to control himself and the truth would jump out directly. The faces of the envoys of the dynasty of the gods turned black in an instant. Prince Milian's face turned pale. He knew he was finished. The position of the prince might not be saved, and whether he could save his life at that time would be a problem. Ye Chen looked at Luo Hongjian and smiled softly, Your Majesty, it seems that the effect of the true word pill is quite good. Do you have anything to ask the Prince of Milian? A cold light flashed in Luo Hongjian's eyes. She is the emperor, but she is also a woman. Women tend to hold grudges. The Prince of Milian had just pressed him and wanted to kill Ye Chen, but she remembered it in her heart. Prince of Milian, when do you hope your father will die and when will you ascend the throne? Luo Hongjian said. Many strong men were shocked. Luo Hongjian was too cruel. Prince, don't answer. Prince, don't talk. Two powerful men sent a message to the Prince of Milian. Their voices sounded like thunder in the mind of the Prince of Milian. Trying to sober him up. Now. I hope my father dies immediately, I want to take the throne now. The Prince of the United States still answered directly. He knew what he was saying, but he couldn't control himself at all. As soon as he said it, he wanted to die. Good answer. Leave the things, you people of the United States dynasty can go. Luo Hongjian said lightly. She had a beautiful smile on her face. Let's go. The Prince of the United States said coldly, and he left quickly with the people of the United States dynasty. It's better to go back early to beg for mercy and save your life. Collect. Ye Chen waved his hand, and the treasure of the 9th level of the Emperor disappeared. This thing is not broken, but the Prince of the United States made it appear like that on purpose. Ye Chen looked at the envoys of the Gods dynasty. Everyone from the dynasty of gods, you should know whether what the Prince of the United States said is true or not. If you don't believe it, I still have the true word pill. Any one of you can come out and try one and you will know. No need, Your Majesty, we'll take our leave. The strong men from the dynasty of gods also left quickly. There are still many people in the hall. People from the Thousand Islands, Oda Empire, Southern Zhao and Xiongnu Empire are still there. But they no longer have the arrogance they just had. Everyone, the Tianyang dynasty is our Bamo dynasty's ally. If you want to deal with the Tianyang dynasty, it's equivalent to declaring war on our Bamo dynasty. The prince of the Bamo dynasty spoke. He didn't say anything when the 6 countries jointly put pressure on him. In fact, he also hoped that Ye Chen would die. When Ye Chen died, it would not be too late for him to stand up and help the Tianyang dynasty. Now the hope of Ye Chen's death has been dashed. He must stand up. Fujita Miyaichi and the others' faces changed drastically. The words of the prince of the Bamo dynasty were very serious. They still have some confidence that the four families will unite to fight against the Tianyang dynasty. Together with the Bamo dynasty, they will definitely lose. Your Majesty Hanjian, goodbye. Goodbye. Fujita Miyaichi and the others said goodbye and left with a cold face. It is impossible to extort money under the current situation. Yechen looked at the prince of the Bamo dynasty, and his eyes were a little strange. Your Majesty Hanjian, it's noon, we will disturb you another day. The prince of the Bamo dynasty smiled, and they also left. Dismiss the court. Eunuch Yan said loudly, and Yechen and Luo Hanjian went to the Zilong Palace together. Natasha is here. Interesting. Yechen's eyes flashed. Natasha and the prince of the Bamo dynasty have half the same blood. In this case, they either have the same father or the same mother. It is impossible to have the same mother, so there is only one possibility, that they have the same father. Natasha is actually the daughter of the Northern Desert Emperor. What does it mean that the Northern Desert Emperor asked her to come here and become my maid? Yechen was confused. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 185. After thinking about it for a while, Yechen forgot about the fact that Natasha was the daughter of the Northern Desert Emperor. With his current semi-saint level strength, he didn't take Northern Desert Emperor seriously. Currently, Yechen has only one identified opponent. Lord of Juxiao Pavilion. Soon Yechen and Luo Hanjian had lunch. En Langxiu and Lu Qianqian were not with them. The two of them had been practicing very hard recently. They thought that their God King level cultivation could protect Yechen, but they didn't expect that Yechen actually had terrifying strength at the level of an emperor. Their God King level strength can only hold them back. This irritated them. Luo Hanjian didn't let them attend the funeral, so they kept practicing with all their strength. Yechen, I haven't heard you play the piano for a long time. Luo Hanjian looked at Yechen expectantly. Just kiss and play. Yechen chuckled. We are still in the 1-month filial piety period, so having sex is not allowed, but there is no problem with a hug and a kiss. Bo. Luo Hanjian gave her a sweet kiss. The melodious music soon sounded, and Luo Hanjian was intoxicated. One more song. Then you call your husband to come and listen. Yechen made the request with a smile. Husband, husband. Luo Hanjian called her many times when they were in bed. Now they were in the backyard of Zilong Palace. Natasha was waiting not far away and Luo Hanjian felt a little embarrassed. You're so good, let me play you another song. Yechen laughed. Luo Hanjian rolled her eyes at Yechen. In the distance, Natasha and others looked here, with envy in Natasha's eyes. Yechen is strong, good-looking, and his piano skills are so good, it's perfect. Nangong, the relationship between the emperor and his majesty is so good. Natasha said. Nangong Ning was beside her. They were not in the backyard originally, but were attracted by Yechen's music. Indeed. Nangong Ning was also a little envious. After playing the second song, Yechen drew another picture for Luo Hanjian and taught her calligraphy. The afternoon passed slowly. But after dinner, Luo Hanjian still didn't want Yechen to leave. Yechen, would you like to sleep in my room? Luo Hanjian said a little coquettishly. Yechen hasn't slept here for a while, and the sheets have been washed. There was no longer Yechen's breath on the bed. Hanjian, you haven't slept recently. You also need a good rest. Yechen frowned and said. Nowadays, during the filial piety period, having sex is no longer an option. The Supreme Emperor is dead, and Empress Dowager Du is now at peace. No one dares to cause trouble to Luo Hanjian, but as the Emperor, it is not good for her to take the lead in breaking etiquette. I sleep in an Ian's room. Lan and the others have been practicing every day recently. Especially Lan, who has never come out. Luo Hongjian said. That's okay. Ye Chen nodded. Langxiu has newly obtained the Holy Demon Soul Sutra. She needs more time to practice, and her cultivation should improve soon. Lying on Luo Hongjian's bed, smelling the lingering body fragrance of Luo Hongjian on the bed, Ye Chen quickly fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Langxiu came out of the training room. She had a headache. She practiced too hard and rushed too fast. This meeting is impressively at the 6th level of the God King. Ask your majesty for help. Langxiu didn't go to her room, she went to Luo Hongjian's room. No one is guarding, your majesty is not here. Langxiu was puzzled. The Supreme Emperor had already passed away, but Luo Hongjian hadn't had a good rest yet. Crack. Langxiu opened the door and entered. Luo Hongjian promised that they could enter. Luo Hongjian even slept with her and Lu Qianqian. Of course, this sleep has no special meaning. There were no scenes inappropriate for children, and none of the three of them were Lily. They are the imperial concubines married by Luo Hongjian, so they must sleep together, otherwise others will be suspicious. If Luo Hongjian doesn't sleep, then who will? Your Majesty, my head hurts so much. Please check it for me. Langxiu said painfully, she saw someone on the bed. As soon as the words fell, Langxiu fell to the ground and she passed out. A gentle force supported Langxiu. Langxiu did not hit the ground. Ye Chen woke up. Hongjian, come on, there's something wrong with Lan. Ye Chen sent out the message. Luo Hongjian woke up and quickly went from Langxiu's room to Ye Chen and the others. Langxiu was already in a deep coma. Her face was very pale, and there were big beads of sweat on her forehead. Ye Chen, what's going on? Luo Hongjian asked. Ye Chen quickly checked Langxiu's condition and said, Lan practices too hard. It's my fault. I should explain it to her more. She should have come to you for help, but you weren't here. Ye Chen's half-saint level powerful power poured into Langxiu's body. Langxiu calmed down a little after a few minutes, but was still in a coma. She was hurt on a soul level. Recovery is slower. Ye Chen, during the period of mourning, it is not appropriate for me to stay with you for a long time at night. You can treat Lan slowly by yourself. Luo Hongjian yawned. Hongjian, this is not good. Ye Chen said quickly. What would it sound like for him and Langxiu to be alone in the same room? There is nothing wrong. I have promised you a long time ago. It's okay for you to sleep together. After Luo Hongjian finished speaking, she disappeared and returned to Langxiu's room. Lying on the bed, Luo Hongjian looked a little complicated. She had a dream in the middle of the night. In the dream, she was very powerful, much more powerful than she is now. The Holy Lord was like an ant in front of her. At the end of the dream, she saw Ye Chen. Ye Chen told her not to leave, but she turned around and left resolutely. This dream is very real. It was so true that Luo Hongjian was uneasy. It's just a dream, it's just a dream. Luo Hongjian murmured to herself, and she forced herself to fall asleep. As a result, Luo Hongjian had the same dream again in the middle of the night. When she woke up in the morning, she was not feeling well. I must have known about the master of Juxiao Pavilion, and I longed to be strong in my heart, so I was so strong in the dream. It's okay, it will definitely be okay. Luo Hongjian comforted herself secretly. Returning to her room, Luo Hongjian saw Langxiu sitting cross-legged on the ground practicing. The quilt on the bed is still the same as last night. Ye Chen, how is Lan? Luo Hongjian asked. Ye Chen smiled lightly and said, there is no problem anymore. She practiced too hard, and she was stimulated by the news of the death of the Qingyi Sword Emperor. The death of the Qingyi Sword Emperor was no longer a secret, and Enlangsu heard it normally. The Tsingyi Sword Emperor took great care of her, and now that he died, she was greatly stimulated. "See your majesty." "Empress, thank you." Enlangsu finished the treatment, and she quickly stood up and saluted. "Your majesty, I didn't know that the emperor and empress came here last night." "I didn't mean to do so." Enlangsu said nervously. "Yechen is the empress. She slept here last night and she actually broke in." Luo Hongjian smiled lightly and said, "Enlan, this is nothing. I have promised Yechen before. Don't tell me that you just entered the house. I won't be angry if there is anything wrong with you." Having two identical dreams in a row made Luo Hongjian uneasy. If she really left heartlessly for some reason, what would happen to Yechen? Maybe it's not a bad thing if Yechenruo and Enlangsu have something. Yechen glared at Luo Hongjian angrily. "What nonsense are you talking about, Hongjian? Enlan, you and Qian are very talented. When your strength increases, you can help the beauty a lot, so I will try my best to help you improve your strength. But don't misunderstand anything," Yechen said directly. Enlangsu and Lu Qian were beautiful, and their appearance and temperament were a little higher as their strength improved, but Yechen had no intention of accepting them too. "Empress, I know." Enlangsu nodded, with a trace of sadness in her heart. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible." Author, New Did. Chapter 186. 7 or 8 days passed in the blink of an eye. Some news came back from the American League dynasty. Dalloway and the other princes were fighting fiercely for the position of prince. The original prince has not been deposed yet, but it is probably a matter of time before his position as prince is deposed. Lin Kaiji and his family escaped from the Tianyang dynasty, but they were still found by Tianyang dynasty's spies. On the execution ground, the family was finally reunited. But Yechen actually didn't pay much attention to these. He stayed in Fengming Palace every day and lived the same life as before, sleeping and reading. Luo Hongjian hasn't come over these days. Yechen didn't think much about it. He had never passed the filial piety period, and there were a lot of things going on with Luo Hongjian recently. "Empress, Imperial concubine Anlan would like to see you," Chunlanhui reports. Yechen was a little surprised. What was Enlangsu doing here? Ordinary imperial concubines often need to go to the emperor's palace to pay their respects, but there are differences between men and women. "Invite her in," Yechen said. Since Enlangsu has come here, he must see her. Soon Enlangsu arrived in front of Yechen. "Empress, I have something to discuss with you privately," Enlangsu said hesitantly. Yechen felt a little strange. Could it be that Enlangsu knew the true situation of the Tsingyi Sword Emperor and wanted to know this? "You can say it," Yechen said. He waved his hand and created a powerful barrier around him. Enlangsu took a deep breath and said, "Empress, I don't know if it was because I broke into your room that night, and your majesty misunderstood and was angry. His majesty's face has not been very good these days. The emperor and empress, I really didn't mean it." Yechen frowned. "Hongjian looks bad." "Yes, Empress, your majesty feels that he has been very worried these past few days. Your majesty, Qian, and I have discussed it. If we affect the relationship between his majesty and you, we can leave the palace. We will not embarrass your majesty," Enlangsu said. The sensing function of the red dust cord can be turned off. These days, Yechen has turned off this ability. He quickly turned it on, and sure enough he sensed that something was wrong with Luo Hongjian's mood. "I'll go over and take a look." Soon Yechen arrived at the Purple Dragon Palace, and Luo Hongjian just returned from the morning session. Seeing Yechen, Luo Hongjian showed a smile on her face. But Ye Chen is very powerful, and he can feel Luo Hongjian's hidden worries. Hongjian, and Lan, and I had nothing to do that night. Ye Chen hugged Luo Hongjian and said. I know. Luo Hongjian said, this is not the reason why she is in a bad mood these days. Usually she only sleeps once every few days. After that day, she deliberately slept 3 times in a row. I dream every night, it's still the same dream. She felt even more uneasy. This situation is definitely not normal. Hongjian, there is nothing about me that makes you angry, right? If there is anything, just tell me. If someone else makes you angry, you tell me and I'll beat them up. Ye Chen pinched Luo Hongjian's cheek and said. This face is so beautiful no matter how you look at it. It also feels very good when pinched. No one made me angry. Don't think nonsense, either you or Lan. It's because I haven't been able to sleep well recently and have had nightmares. Luo Hongjian said. She didn't go into details so as not to worry Ye Chen too. Ye Chen secretly sighed in his heart, he estimated that Luo Hongjian was dreaming about the Supreme Emperor. The Supreme Emperor was her father, and she died in his hands. Ye Chen, don't worry, it will be fine after a while. Luo Hongjian smiled. Ye Chen nodded lightly. Since it was a nightmare, he really couldn't help with this matter. System, sign into the Purple Dragon Palace once. System, I'm telling you, the master of Juxiao Pavilion is definitely stronger than me now. If I die, you will be finished. It's up to you. Ye Chen said secretly. It has been a month since he last signed in, and he can sign in again. It turns out that Ye Chen actually wanted to sign with the American League Dynasty this month. Maybe you can get another SS level reward. Forget it now. You may encounter danger when you leave Tianyuan Emperor Palace, so it is better to continue to hide. Sign in the Purple Dragon Palace and get an S-level enhancement card. What the host said is right, you will get a special increase opportunity. The S-level enhancement card will be upgraded to an SS level defense treasure enhancement card. Ye Chen was stunned. Is this okay? He was actually just complaining casually, but he didn't expect the system to be so powerful. System, is there still such a chance? Host, you only have one chance. Ye Chen felt a little pity. It would be great if he signed in 3 times and got 3 SS level rewards. System, strengthen Chi Yu's armor. Ye Chen secretly said. Chi Yu's armor is an S level armor. It can withstand up to 3 semi-saint level attacks. It's pretty good, but it doesn't have the confidence to face Juxiao Pavilion Lord Ye Chen. If the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion targeted him, he would definitely attack him more than 3 times, and he might be beaten to death. Enhancement is successful. Chi Yu's armor has been strengthened into an SS level dragon armor. It can withstand 3 saint level attacks by relying on the armor's own strength. The dragon inside the armor can defend itself without the armor. Note, Ljia's defense state can only withstand 1 saint level attack. Ye Chen quickly asked secretly, does the system, Ljia defense, mean that I can not only protect myself, but also protect others around me? Yes. Ye Chen's eyes lit up. System, what is the maximum range of Shenlong Ljia's defense? How long does it take for the armor to recover after its power is consumed? The maximum range is 100 kilometers. It will take half a year to recover from complete consumption depending on the current strength of the host. The stronger the strength, the faster the recovery speed. Ye Chen was satisfied. The maximum range actually reaches 100 kilometers, which means that Shenlong defense can cover the entire Tianyuan Imperial City. It took half a year to recover, but who said he was only at the 5th level of the Great Emperor? Tisk, tisk, with the Divine Dragon armor with the defensive power of a saint, you should be able to survive even if you are attacked by the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion. There was a faint smile on Ye Chen's face. Ye Chen, you still laugh when I have a nightmare, you are a bad thing. Luo Hongjian's beautiful hand pinched Ye Chen's waist, and she pulled the tender flesh around Ye Chen's waist and twisted it around. Ah, it hurts, it hurts. Ye Chen yelled deliberately. Ye Chen quickly sent a message to Luo Hongjian, Hongjian, I'm thinking that we can have sex in half a month. By then, I guarantee you will fly into the sky and forget all the troubles, hee hee. Goat. Luo Hongjian's pretty face turned red. Hongjian, I have to leave the palace. It may take 1 or 2 days at the earliest, and I'll be back in 3 or 4 days at the earliest. Ye Chen said. Originally, he planned to sign in all 3 times at the Purple Dragon Palace, but he actually got a defense improvement reward when he signed in for the first time. He could go to the American League Dynasty. If you can get SS level rewards, it will be much better than S level rewards. Ye Chen, do you have to go out? Luo Hongjian was a little worried. What if Ye Chen left and met the master of Juxiao Pavilion? Ye Chen nodded lightly. He owns the dragon armor, and his defense is much stronger, but he still can't defeat the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion. We still need to improve our strength as soon as possible. Husband, then be careful. Luo Hongjian kissed Ye Chen and said. Ye Chen left quickly, and he let the holy hidden cloak hide his cultivation in the 4th level of the Great Emperor. In addition, he also restrained his breath. In the eyes of experts below the level of the Great Emperor, he still only has the innate realm. If he meets the master of the Juxiao Pavilion, he will be at the 4th level of the Great Emperor in the eyes of the master of the Juxiao Pavilion. Meow. In Tianyang Imperial City, a black cat saw Ye Chen leaving quickly. Its eyes sparkled with wisdom. Pavilion Master, Ye Chen came out of the palace, do you want to kill him? Black Cat summoned. This black cat has the cultivation level of the 9th level of the Great Emperor. Its aura was well hidden, and Ye Chen didn't search it with all his strength and didn't find it. In the distance, the master of Juxiao Pavilion, who was listening to opera in the theater, had a faint smile on his face. The strength of an emperor at such a young age is a bit interesting. Give him an invitation and invite him to the Changsheng Mansion. The master of Juxiao Pavilion said. Changsheng Mansion is the stronghold of the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion, and it is his most important stronghold. The black cat turned into a girl in black. Ye Chen only moved forward at the speed of the 4th level emperor. Not long after he left the Tianyang dynasty, the girl in black arrived in front of Ye Chen. Empress Ye Chen, I am from Juxiao Pavilion. Our pavilion master invites you to meet, this is the invitation. The girl in black smiled sweetly. Ye Chen's eyes flashed brightly, and with his mid-stage semi-sane strength, he could naturally judge the cultivation level of this girl in black. The cat demon of the 9th level of the Great Emperor. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 187. Ye Chen looked at the girl in black, with a look of surprise in his eyes. Girl, you are very strong, your cultivation seems to be a little higher than mine. The girl in black giggled and said, Empress Ye Chen, our Juxiao Pavilion has been around longer than your Tianyang dynasty. Isn't it normal that I have some strength? Ye Chen nodded slightly, it makes sense. If you Juxiao Pavilion master wants to see me, isn't it because you want to win me over to join Juxiao Pavilion? If so, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. The girl in black shook her head, I don't know what the master is thinking. Do you agree or reject? Ye Chen said with a smile, the master of Juxiao Pavilion is extremely mysterious. It would be great to meet him. Speaking of which, I have to thank you, Juxiao Pavilion. If it weren't for the beauty list compiled by Juxiao Pavilion, there wouldn't be a fate between me and Hongjian. The girl in black sneered in her heart. Stupid humans. Just a slave controlled by desire. Then you'll be there on time. The girl in black quickly disappeared after speaking. However, she did not leave too far, but secretly monitored Ye Chen's movements. Ye Chen, at such a young age and with such a level of cultivation, is already the focus of Juxiao Pavilion. They have to find out if there is a more powerful person behind Ye Chen. We also need to find out whether Ye Chen has doubted their Juxiao Pavilion. If Ye Chen escapes quickly now, the girl in black will kill him. Ye Chen opened the invitation. The invitation was actually written by the girl in black. The handwriting is very delicate, and the time and place are written on it, but the location is not precise. Boom, boom. The girl in black's pointed ears were erect, and she could hear Ye Chen's heartbeat. Ye Chen's heart beat faster when she first appeared, but now he has returned to calm. Judging from the heartbeat reaction, Ye Chen probably doesn't know the situation in our Juxiao Pavilion. The girl in black thought to herself. Changsheng Mansion. Let's go here first. I don't know how strong the master of Juxiao Pavilion is. I don't dare to stand up and fight for world hegemony. The strength of the master of Juxiao Pavilion should not be too terrible. He should be at the 7th or 8th level of the great emperor. Ye Chen muttered. The girl in black could hear his muttering. The 7th or 8th level of the great emperor. The girl in black had a look of disdain in her eyes. She had the cultivation level of the 9th level of the great emperor. Call out. After putting away the invitation, Ye Chen moved forward with his sword at the speed of the 4th level emperor. The holy hidden cloak also hides the aura of the Xuxian sword very well. Half an hour later, Ye Chen had arrived at the place written on the invitation. Empress Ye Chen, you came quite quickly. You arrived a little early, but the pavilion master has returned. We can go see the pavilion master now. The girl in black appeared again. Girl, am I not anxious to see the master of Juxiao Pavilion? Ye Chen said with a smile. If the defense had not been improved, Ye Chen would be more nervous coming here. If the lord of Juxiao Pavilion wants to kill him, he has no hope. It's okay now. If the lord of Juxiao Pavilion really takes action, he possesses a divine dragon armor at the level of a saint, and he might be able to frighten the lord of Juxiao Pavilion. If you can't stand it, cool off. Empress Ye Chen, please. The girl in black got on a cruise ship, and Ye Chen boarded the ship. A lot of white fog suddenly appeared around the cruise ship, and then the cruise ship moved forward at a super fast speed. People at the 4th level of the Great Emperor simply cannot see their surroundings clearly. Of course Ye Chen can. Girl, what does this mean? Ye Chen frowned, acting as if he couldn't see through the white fog around him at all. The girl in black smiled coquettishly and said, Don't worry, Empress Ye Chen, this is just so that the Changsheng mansion will not be discovered and the master of the pavilion will not be disturbed. Without such means, Changsheng mansion would have been discovered long ago. Ye Chen nodded lightly. 5 minutes later, the cruise ship landed in a small lake and reached the shore. There are birds chirping and flowers fragrant all around. Pavilions and pavilions dot the landscape. If he hadn't been brought in, it would have been impossible to find Ye Chen with his current strength. Welcome guests to Changsheng Mansion. 2 maids in colorful clothes greeted him. They both had great emperor-level cultivation. The 3rd realm of the great emperor. And he did not hide his cultivation. Ye Chen looked at the 2 maids in surprise. The strength of your Changsheng mansion is so terrifying. A strong man with the level of an emperor actually became a maid. The girl in black smiled sweetly and said, We are people who pursue immortality. If we live longer, our strength will naturally become stronger. Empress Ye Chen, please. The girl in black led the way, followed by 2 maids in colorful clothes. Ye Chen looked left and right as he moved forward. There are so many strong people here. There are a lot of various spiritual creatures, it's a great place. Ye Chen said in amazement. He saw a lot of strong men, all of them demons, and there were about a dozen of them at the emperor level. The rest of the cultivation base is at the basic god emperor level. All the demons looked like humans, and there was no demonic aura emanating from them. The girl in black secretly observed Ye Chen's reaction all the way. Ye Chen didn't feel too scared, there should be no problem. If Ye Chen already knows about the situation in Juxiao Pavilion, then Ye Chen will die, and some people related to Ye Chen will also die. Empress Ye Chen is missing her from afar. My surname is Li, the master of Juxiao Pavilion. You can call me Li Changsheng. Ye Chen entered a palace with a beautiful environment. Along with a long laugh, an elegant middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s appeared. The middle-aged man exudes the aura of the 9th level of the Great Emperor. Ye Chen's expression changed. Pavilion Master Li, you have the strength of the 9th level of the Great Emperor. I wonder if the death of the King Ai Sword Emperor has anything to do with Pavilion Master Li. Ye Chen looked extremely alert. His heartbeat speeds up a lot. Li Changsheng was deliberately testing Ye Chen's reaction. He revealed the 9th level cultivation of the Great Emperor. If Ye Chen was still indifferent, there must be something wrong. Empress Ye Chen, don't panic. We at Juxiao Pavilion are determined to live forever and have no fight with the world. The Xingyi Sword Emperor was not killed by me. Li Changsheng smiled and said, with my strength, there is no need to lie to you, Empress Ye Chen. Ye Chen took a deep breath and gradually calmed down. Master Li, what you said makes sense. Li Changsheng chuckled and said, the world is dangerous. If we hadn't practiced in seclusion, we might have died long ago. Even if he hadn't died, there would be many temptations in the world, and he still wouldn't be as strong as he is now. Ye Chen nodded. Pavilion Master Li, in that case, why did you invite me over this time? Li Changsheng looked at Ye Chen, and at the same time secretly checked Ye Chen's condition with treasures. Empress Ye Chen, are you really only in your 20s? Li Changsheng asked. Ye Chen said quietly, I am indeed only in my 20s. You don't want to kill me, lest my increased strength threatens you in the future, right? I had already spread the word before I came here. If such a situation occurs, Tianyang dynasty will fully target you. Li Changsheng judged that Ye Chen was telling the truth. He was surprised. Such a genius actually appears. However, Li Changsheng was not worried about Ye Chen threatening him at all. Although Ye Chen is now at the 4th level of the Great Emperor, he is still far away from the 9th level of the Great Emperor. Emperor Ye Chen, you are worrying too much. We at Juxiao Pavilion are independent of the world and have no intention of participating in the dynasty's struggle for hegemony, so naturally we will not kill you. Li Changsheng smiled and said, I believe that as your strength increases, you will not target our Juxiao Pavilion, otherwise you will pay a huge price. Ye Chen nodded slightly. Judging from the past, your Juxiao Pavilion is indeed indifferent to the world. Pavilion Master Li, you should be from our Tianyang dynasty, right? Li Changsheng smiled and nodded. Our Juxiao Pavilion does not belong to any country, but I am indeed a member of the Tianyang dynasty. Ye Chen breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. You are from our Tianyang dynasty. In the future, when our Tianyang dynasty conquers other countries, we will not conflict with Pavilion Master Li and your Juxiao Pavilion. Li Changsheng's eyes flashed. Empress Ye Chen, the war has caused suffering to the people. Will the Tianyang dynasty still have conflicts with other countries? Ye Chen said coldly, Master Li, you don't know that some time ago, the princes of Milian and others jointly bullied the beauty. Sooner or later, we will settle this grudge with them. Pavilion Master Li, if you have property in the Thousand Island Kingdom, the Xiongnu Empire, the Aoda Empire, the Southern Zhao Kingdom, etc., it is best to transfer the property within 3 years. In 3 years, maybe they will destroy their entire country in 1 year. Li Changsheng looked calm on the surface, but was excited in his heart. Ye Chen had such a good idea. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 188. Li Changsheng laughed heartily. Ye Chen had such an idea, and he suddenly became more pleased with Ye Chen. Emperor Ye Chen, if this country goes to war, the people will inevitably suffer a lot of casualties. Can't we live together peacefully? Li Changsheng said. He looks like he cares about the people of the world. Ye Chen sneered in his heart. A bunch of monsters, who are you kidding? Pavilion Master Li, I am the Empress of the Tianyang dynasty. It is great that I can take care of the people of the Tianyang dynasty. War is definitely inevitable. Ye Chen said categorically, Master Li, if you hope that fewer people from our Tianyang dynasty will die, Zhuxiao Pavilion may be able to send some strong men to help us. Li Changsheng shook his head. Empress Ye Chen, our Zhuxiao Pavilion has ancestral rules and we are not allowed to participate in the dynasty's struggle for hegemony. But I do hope that fewer people in the Tianyang dynasty will die, and I also want to make friends with you, Empress Ye Chen. Li Changsheng said as a small jade bottle came into his hand. Empress Ye Chen, here are 2 emperor-level Tiandao pills, which are a little bit of our Zhuxiao Pavilion's wishes. Ye Chen's eyes lit up. Pavilion Master Li, I have read in ancient books that the Tiandao pill can improve my cultivation. Can 2 pills allow me to improve to 2 small realms? Li Changsheng smiled and said, whether you can improve the 2 minor realms depends on your talent. With your talent, Empress Ye Chen, you should be able to do it. In Li Changsheng's opinion, with Ye Chen's current level of cultivation at the 4th level of the Great Emperor, 2 heavenly Dao pills might allow Ye Chen to reach the level of the 6th level of the Great Emperor, allowing Ye Chen to act earlier. Hey, Pavilion Master Li, do you still have this thing? Even if we have these 2 pills, I'm afraid we have to wait 2 years before we can take action. The Midland Prince and the others made me very angry before. To be honest with you, this trip is to go to the Midland dynasty to settle accounts with them. Ye Chen said expectantly. Tiandao Dan, what a good thing. It's equivalent to an S-level sign-in reward, and sign-in rarely gives you something that directly improves your cultivation level. Li Changsheng secretly thought that Ye Chen was greedy. But Ye Chen is eager to kill for revenge, which is a good thing for them. Empress Ye Chen, if you take more than 2 Tiandao pills, they will have no effect. Li Changsheng said. He doesn't have much of this either. Ye Chen said, Pavilion Master Li, if there are many, I can also give some to Yao Jingguo and the ancestors. By the way, are there any Tiandao pills at the level of God King and God Emperor? Li Changsheng. If he didn't need a strong man like Ye Chen to start a war, he would kill Ye Chen now. Pavilion Master Li, let's do this. I'll give you something in exchange. Ye Chen said. He instantly took out a powerful imperial weapon as he spoke. Pavilion Master Li, this is the treasure I got from Prince Milian, the 9th level of the Great Emperor. Prince Milian said it can identify monsters, but it's of no use to me. But it might be useful to you. It would be quite troublesome for your Zhuxiao Pavilion to get mixed up with demons, wouldn't it? Li Changsheng and the others stared at Ye Chen, and there was nothing strange about Ye Chen's expression. Empress Ye Chen, this thing is indeed useful to us. I can give you some more Tiandao pills. Li Changsheng smiled lightly and waved his hand to put away the treasures that Ye Chen took out. This treasure is enough to detect most of them. The threat to them is not small. Pavilion Master Li, I want some elixirs at the level of God King, God Emperor, and Great Emperor. Thank you, thank you. Ye Chen said with a smile. Li Changsheng took out 3 more jade bottles, which contained elixirs at the level of God King, God Emperor, and Great Emperor respectively. 20 God King level pills. 10 pills of the God Emperor level. 2 Emperor level pills. Empress Ye Chen, the value of these elixirs will not be lower than the value of the treasures you took out. Li Changsheng said that he felt very distressed when these things were taken out. They can train a lot of subordinates. But Ye Chen took the elixir to increase the strength of the Tianyang dynasty, so it would be nice to start the war earlier. Ye Chen's previous analysis with Luo Hongjian was not wrong. Juxiao Pavilion wants humans to kill each other. Only when enough people die can they gather enough human resentment to continue destroying the demon sealing order. Pavilion Master Li, how often is it better to take one pill of this pill? Ye Chen collected the elixir and asked. Li Changsheng said, this depends on the individual's digestion. Generally, the interval is 2 or 3 months. Empress Ye Chen, don't say that the things come from our Juxiao Pavilion. Ye Chen nodded, understood. Pavilion Master Li, I wonder if you have any unused things that you can give me. The more good things we have, the fewer people in the Tianyang dynasty will die in the future. After saying that, Ye Chen looked at Li Changsheng longingly. Li Changsheng had the impulse to slap Ye Chen on the face, thinking he was doing charity. Pavilion Master Li, you see it's rare for me to come here. Besides, I don't have much background. I lack this or that. I can't always look for beauties, alas. Pavilion Master Li. Under Ye Chen's entanglement, Li Changsheng had to take out a few more imperial weapons. The value is not low. Empress Ye Chen, I have other things to deal with, so I'll excuse you now. Nightingale, please send Empress Ye Chen off. Li Changsheng left in a hurry. He didn't want to stay with Ye Chen any longer. If he stayed for a while longer, he would probably lose some treasures. Ye Chen looked at the direction in which Li Changsheng left with unfinished thoughts. He sneered in his heart. Let's make a deep impression on Li Changsheng today, so that Li Changsheng will stay away from him. A guy who doesn't know how to live or die. The black-clothed girl sneered in her heart. I don't know how many people their pavilion master has eaten and killed. If Ye Chen was not still useful, Ye Chen would have been dead. Empress Ye Chen, please. The black-clothed girl said with a sweet smile. Excuse me, young lady. The environment here is very good. In fact, I really want to live here for 10 days or half a month. It's a pity that I am entangled in worldly affairs. Ye Chen sighed lightly. Not long after, Ye Chen and his friends boarded the cruise ship again. When they got off the boat, Ye Chen had already arrived at the place where he boarded the boat before. Ye Chen left, and the black-clothed girl returned quickly. Pavilion Master, Ye Chen is so annoying. He actually asked for so many good things from you. The black-clothed girl said angrily. Li Changsheng turned into a demonic young man. He stretched out his hand, and the black-clothed girl sat on his lap. Although we have suffered a lot of losses, it is also beneficial for us that Ye Chen and his team are stronger. Just consider it an investment. Li Changsheng said lightly, if Ye Chen and his team don't obey, just kill them. The black-clothed girl snuggled in Li Changsheng's arms like a lazy kitten. Master, is Ye Chen really only in his 20s? Li Changsheng nodded slightly, he is indeed only in his 20s. If he was not so talented, I would not be so optimistic about him. With strong strength and youthful vigor, Ye Chen should give us a surprise. After walking far away and making sure that no one was following Ye Chen, he breathed a sigh of relief. Give me these heavenly Dao pills, and you will cry later. Ye Chen sneered in his heart. His cultivation is only the 5th level of the Great Emperor, and the heavenly Dao pills will definitely improve his cultivation. Collect. All the heavenly Dao pills were received by Ye Chen in the system inventory. Through the system, Ye Chen confirmed that there was no problem with the heavenly Dao pills. System, if I use the heavenly Dao pills, can I digest and improve my cultivation immediately? Ye Chen asked secretly. Non-system reward items contain impurities and cannot instantly improve strength, but through the use of these items by the system, digestion only takes 1/10 of the time. Ye Chen's eyes lit up. So it only takes 6 to 9 days to take 2 or 3 months. And his physique is strong and his skills are strong, so it shouldn't take 6 to 9 days to digest one. System, use an Emperor-level heavenly Dao pill. Used. Instantly, Ye Chen felt a stream of warm currents pouring into his body, and his body cells absorbed it crazily. With Ye Chen's current cultivation level, it normally takes at least 3 or 4 months to improve a small realm. Now Ye Chen estimates that it only takes 4 or 5 days. The master of Juxiao Pavilion is a good person. Ye Chen sighed in his heart, this trip to Changsheng Mansion is worth it. System, you should know what the master of Juxiao Pavilion is, tell me. Ye Chen asked. He could only judge that the master of Juxiao Pavilion was in the semi-saint realm, but he didn't know the details. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 189. Cultivation is at the late stage of the semi-saint, the specific strength is unknown. The system actually answered Ye Chen, but this answer made Ye Chen a little entangled. The Juxiao Pavilion Master is at the late stage of the semi-saint. If he does not have a very powerful treasure or a super strong physical skill, his strength should only be at the late stage of the semi-saint. This is good. The gap is not that big. If the Juxiao Pavilion Master is at the perfect semi-saint strength, the current gap is relatively large. I am now at the 5th level of the Great Emperor. I should be able to upgrade to the 7th level of the Great Emperor within 10 days. I don't know if I will have the strength of the late semi-saint by then. Ye Chen muttered in his heart. The semi-saint realm has only 4 small realms, the initial stage, the middle stage, the late stage, and the perfect stage. The strength gap between each realm is much larger. I hope to gain something by going to the United States. Ye Chen continued to rush to the United States. Even if he only used the strength of the 4th level of the Great Emperor, Ye Chen's speed was already very fast. After 6 or 7 hours, he had arrived in the United States. The United States is the youngest dynasty, and it has been established for less than 500 years. Ye Chen was actually a little worried about signing in here. But he must come and try. Half an hour later, Ye Chen arrived at the capital of the United States dynasty. This is a young city, which was established only 200 or 300 years ago. There are tall buildings everywhere. Very prosperous. In terms of prosperity, Tianyang Imperial City cannot compare, but he still prefers cities like Tianyang Imperial City. There is heritage and taste. Without wasting time, Ye Chen sneaked directly into the palace. It was broad daylight now, and Ye Chen turned into a small mosquito and wandered around in the palace. The United States dynasty is a new dynasty, and there is no place like the Xingluo ancient tower of the Bamo dynasty, and there are no treasures that cannot be moved from ancient times. Forget it, just sign in at the palace council hall. Ye Chen muttered. There was no one in the council hall at this time, and Ye Chen flew into the council hall. This council hall is equivalent to the Tianji Hall of the Tianyang dynasty, which is the most important place. System, sign in. Sign into the council hall of the United States dynasty and get 3 S-level reward master servant contract scrolls. You can sign up with the 5th level emperor. The master servant contract can greatly improve the other party's resistance to hypnosis. The stronger the host and the slave are, the stronger the other party's resistance to hypnosis. The voice of the system made Ye Chen happy and worried. The good news is that this contract scroll is a good thing, and he got 3. The bad news is that the first sign-in was only an S-level reward. The effect of the second sign-in may not be very good. But at least I signed in an S-level thing the first time. I came so far, I can't sign in once and leave. Ye Chen arrived at the bedroom of the Emperor of the United States dynasty. The result of the sign-in came out soon, and Ye Chen was about to spit out blood. It was only an A-level reward. He signed in on the side of the Gods dynasty, 2 SS-level rewards and 1 S-level reward, but here he got 1 S-level reward after 2 times. Damn it, I will never sign in here again. Signing in a place without background really doesn't have good results. Ye Chen complained crazily in his heart. If he had known this earlier, he might as well sign in at Tianyang Imperial City, the effect might be better. The A-level reward was very good for Ye Chen at the beginning, but now he is at the semi-saint level, and the A-level reward is very ordinary for him. Your Majesty, are you back? A charming voice sounded, and a woman came out of the bathing pool behind the bedroom. She was only wearing a thin gauze dress, looming and very tempting. Ye Chen saw her just now when he arrived at the back of the bedroom. She was still taking a bath at that time. Ye Chen actually recognized her at the first time. She was a figure on the Juxiao beauty list. Ranked in the top 10. Her name is Ai Sui. She was not originally a member of the United States dynasty. She joined the United States dynasty and later became a concubine. Now she is the favorite concubine of the Emperor of the United States dynasty. Just now in the backyard, she was not wearing clothes, and a gentleman like Ye Chen did not look at her for a long time, just 7 or 8 times. Strange, I clearly felt that someone entered, how come I didn't notice it? Ai Sui frowned slightly. Ye Chen was still like a mosquito at this moment, lying in the corner looking at Ai Sui. This figure is really good. No, no, the point is not the figure. Ai Sui's eyes are a little wrong. And Ai Sui only has the cultivation level of Yang Shen level. Even if his emotions fluctuated a lot just now, how could Ai Sui notice it? But looking at Ai Sui's expression, she didn't seem to lie, she really noticed that someone entered. At this moment, Ye Chen keenly noticed that the breath emitted by Ai Sui had changed. She didn't change at all, but the feeling she gave Ye Chen was different. God King, God Emperor, Great Emperor. Ai Sui's cultivation level increased rapidly. In a short period of time, her original Yang Shen level cultivation level actually reached the Great Emperor level, and she didn't stop until she reached the 5th level of the Great Emperor. The next second, Ai Sui's powerful consciousness enveloped the entire hall. If Ye Chen really only had the strength of the 4th level of the Great Emperor, he would most likely be discovered by Ai Sui. Even if he had the strength of the 6th level of the Great Emperor, he might still be discovered by Ai Sui. Really not. Did I sense it wrong just now? Ai Sui was puzzled. Ye Chen was shocked. Ai Sui actually had such strength. No, she herself does not have such strength. Ye Chen found that Ai Sui's situation was complicated. She still only has the cultivation of Yang Shen level, but through special means, her strength has reached the 5th level of the Great Emperor in a short time. In less than 10 seconds, Ai Sui recovered her original state, and she was a little weaker. Ye Chen stared at Ai Sui with his consciousness, and he found that the power in Ai Sui's body came from a treasure in her body, which was a golden cross. System, what is going on, do you know? Ye Chen asked secretly. The system did not reply to Ye Chen, and his system was relatively quiet. Ye Chen's eyes flashed with brilliance. He had read many books and actually had his own judgment. This situation is like a god descending. In ancient times, when those strong men left, through a certain medium, the strong men who left could let their consciousness clones descend. Later, as the rules of heaven and earth were improved, the means of God descending were completely ineffective. The cross should be the medium, this is a strong man descending. But the consciousness clones of the descending strong men will not explode for long now. Ye Chen analyzed, and he frowned secretly. It seems that the rules of heaven and earth are changing now, and the strong men who left may return. No wonder the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion is a little anxious now, he should have noticed the changes in this regard. Ye Chen thought to himself. The next second, Ye Chen used the formation to cover the entire hall, and his figure appeared in front of Ai Sui. Ye Chen's figure was shrouded in a black robe, and he also wore a black hat on his head. His face was hidden in the black hat and could not be seen clearly. You dash. Ai Sui's face suddenly changed. Ye Chen opened his mouth, and a hoarse and gloomy voice sounded, I came to see the beauty, but I didn't expect to have a special discovery. Which friend came? As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 190. Ai Sui stared at Ye Chen, and there was a powerful aura at the 7th level of the Great Emperor coming from Ye Chen. Who is your excellency? Ai Sui asked. When I ask questions, just answer them honestly. If you are an acquaintance, I will let you go. Ye Chen exudes murderous intent. Ai Sui took a deep breath and said, Your Excellency, even if we are not acquaintances, we are all humans after all. Nowadays, there are not many strong humans coming, so we can cooperate. Ye Chen secretly thought in his heart, a strong man has indeed arrived. Besides you, who else is coming to the American League dynasty? Ai Sui shook her head and said, Your Excellency, as far as I know, no other strong person has come yet. The requirements for coming are high. I didn't expect that you are so powerful and can maintain such strength for a long time in the original world. Ye Chen snorted softly. Tell me, who are you? Let me see if you recognize me. Ai Sui was silent for a moment and said truthfully, Your Excellency, I am the Demon Emperor of the Holy Demon Realm and Angzi. Ai Sui is my descendant. I have awakened my bloodline, so I can come. Are you resting the Demon Emperor? I have no grudge against you. How long has it been since you came? Ai Sui said, I came here half a year ago and gradually increased my strength to the 5th level of the Great Emperor. However, I can only maintain it for a little time, which is much worse than your excellency. Ye Chen said in a deep voice, Anti-Demon Emperor, have you gained anything from being in the lower world for so long? There should be a reason for the strong man to come. Ye Chen didn't believe that after such a long time, the purpose of their return was simply to help. You are joking, the secret of eternal life is so easy to find. Ai Sui shook her head, now I can have a slight burst of the 5th level strength of the Great Emperor, and it will take several days to recover after the strength is consumed. What can you do if you are strong enough? Ye Chen's eyes sparkled. Advent does have a purpose. Actually, the secret of eternal life may not be in the original world. Ye Chen said in a deep voice. Ai Sui stared at Ye Chen, Your Excellency, haven't you discovered something yet? Your Excellency, it's useless to say this. Even if you persuade me to quit, other gods will come. At present, the holy and demon realms have basically unified their understanding. The secret of eternal life lies in the original realm. If you know, why don't we cooperate? Ye Chen shook his head, no need, I still like to act on my own. Puff. The next second, the Zuxian sword appeared in Ye Chen's hand, and he killed Ai Sui instantly with one stab of the sword. Receive. The golden cross in Ai Sui's body was put away by Ye Chen, and then he left immediately. Only a few seconds after Ye Chen left, the door of the palace opened and the Emperor of the United Dynasty entered the palace. My beloved concubine. He soon saw Ai Sui lying in a pool of blood. Come here, seal off the entire palace. The Emperor of the United Dynasty roared, Ai Sui had just died, and the murderer should still be in the palace. Ai Sui is very young, fair-skinned, beautiful, and has long legs. He loves it very much. Now he was actually killed in his palace. What a shame. The experts in the entire palace took action quickly. But Ye Chen's half-saint level strength left the palace easily, and their blockade was useless to Ye Chen. What a pity. If I could bring Ai Sui out, I could ask more questions. Ye Chen muttered in his heart. Even with his strength, it is not easy to bring a living person out of the Midland Dynasty palace. The most important questions have been asked. It would be better to send AI Xuanhuan on her way. AI Xuanhuan can only be captured alive or killed. Using a master-servant contract to control her is not safe. It is estimated that the master-servant contract can control AI Xuanhuan, but the person who controls AI Xuanhuan's body will be the descending demon Emperor Engzi. As for the Emperor of the American League dynasty, Ye Chen had no intention of controlling him with a master-servant contract. This is almost impossible to do. As the leader of a country, he is likely to have imperial weapons for defense. The strong men in the Holy Demon realm are probably much more powerful than the strong men in the original world. However, it is impossible for them to go down to the real world in the short term. At most, their clones will come down through various means. Before they really come, my strength must be improved as soon as possible. Ye Chen secretly thought. He quickly returned to Tianyuan Imperial City. The sign-in rewards for this trip to the American League dynasty were mediocre, which made Ye Chen very disappointed, but it was not in vain to get some news about the arrival of the strong man and the world of saints and demons. If the secret of eternal life were in the original world, he would have a certain advantage. But we have to deal with the Lord of Juxiao Pavilion first. Ye Chen had a vague feeling that the master of Juxiao Pavilion might know something about the secret of eternal life. The master of Juxiao Pavilion has the cultivation level of the late half-saint, which is very suspicious. Half-saints are now legends. Although Ye Chen has the strength of a semi-saint level, his cultivation level is actually not yet at the semi-sage level. At night, Ye Chen returned to Tianyuan Imperial City and arrived at Fengming Palace. "Empress, your majesty has come and slept here," Dong Mei reminded Ye Chen. Even late at night, the four of them would not all be practicing or sleeping, there would always be someone on duty. Ye Chen was a little strange. Now during the period of mourning, Luo Hongjian would not be able to sleep with him even if she came here. Why is she here? In an instant, Ye Chen's consciousness entered the room, and he saw Luo Hongjian. Luo Hongjian fell asleep. Her body was curled up and her brows were furrowed. She looked very uncomfortable. Luo Hongjian actually wanted to sleep here while Ye Chen was away. See if I will have such a dream here. The result is the same. Ye Chen's eyes flashed with brilliance, and he sensed a trace of strange breath. This trace of breath seemed to appear from the void, quietly affecting Luo Hongjian's soul. God descended. Influence through dreams. Ye Chen's eyes flashed with cold light, and his willpower turned into a divine axe and fiercely chopped at the trace of strange breath. In an instant, all the strange breaths were all gone. Luo Hongjian's dream suddenly changed. Her body relaxed, her complexion gradually recovered, and her frowning brows also relaxed. I thought Hongjian dreamed of the emperor. It turned out that the strong man of the holy demon realm was playing tricks. Ye Chen was annoyed. The other party made Luo Hongjian uncomfortable these days. It was not long before dawn, and Ye Chen did not enter the room. He lay in the yard for 2 hours, but he did not fall asleep and kept paying attention to Luo Hongjian's situation. Luo Hongjian did not have any problems later. Comfortable. Luo Hongjian opened her eyes. This time she slept more comfortably. But Luo Hongjian remembered that she had that dream at the beginning. The dream collapsed later. Ye Chen, when did you come back? Why didn't you tell me that you came back? Luo Hongjian came out of the room and saw Ye Chen. She felt a little distressed. Ye Chen was actually sleeping in the yard. Hongjian, I haven't been back for long. Hongjian, what did you dream about? Ye Chen asked. Luo Hongjian was stunned. Husband, did you take action? My dream changed later. Ye Chen nodded slightly. Luo Hongjian looked at Ye Chen hesitantly. She didn't know whether to tell Ye Chen what she dreamed about. She didn't want Ye Chen to worry. Hongjian, your dream is abnormal. There is a strong man invading your dream. Tell me what you dreamed about. Ye Chen said. Luo Hongjian's expression was like this. What she dreamed about was probably not ordinary. Luo Hongjian's body shook. A strong man invaded my dream. How is this possible? Luo Hongjian was a little bit unbelievable, but Ye Chen would definitely not lie to her. This must be true. Husband, I dreamed that I became an extremely powerful master, much more powerful than the saint level, and at the end of the dream I actually left you. Luo Hongjian's face turned a little pale. She thought this dream was terrible. It's good to become a top strong man. But in the dream, she seemed to have become a different person. She actually left Ye Chen.